The rain-slicked streets of Manchester's northern quarter gleamed under the orange haze of street lamps, turning the cobblestones into a treacherous mirror of the city's underbelly. It was a Friday night in late autumn, the kind where the chill seeped into your bones and the pubs spilled out laughter and lager onto the pavements. Emily Hargreaves, 22, a graphic design student at the local uni, had just finished her shift at the indie coffee shop on Oldham Street. She wiped her hands on her apron, slung her backpack over one shoulder, and waved goodbye to her mate Sarah behind the counter. "Text me when you're home, yeah?" Sarah called out, her voice muffled by the hiss of the espresso machine. "Will do. Night," Emily replied, stepping into the drizzle. She pulled up the hood of her black raincoat, her auburn hair tucked away, and popped in her earbuds. The playlist shuffled to some indie folk, nothing too upbeat, just enough to drown out the distant thump of club bass from Affleck's Palace. She could have taken the tram, but her flat in Ancoats was only a 20-minute walk, and she needed the air after a day of frothy lattes and entitled customers. The main drag was alive with revelers, groups of lads in Stone Island jackets, hens in sparkly sashes, couples huddled under umbrellas. Emily stuck to the lit paths, her trainers splashing through puddles. She wasn't naive. Manchester had its rough edges. Her mum back in Stockport always nagged her about safety apps and pepper spray, but Emily rolled her eyes. Uni life was about freedom, right? Still, she quickened her pace as the crowds thinned near the edge of the quarter, where the trendy bars gave way to graffiti-tagged warehouses and dimly lit alleys. That's when she noticed the van. A battered white Transit, parked haphazardly against a loading bay on Thompson Street, its engine idling with a low rumble that cut through her music. She glanced at it casually, probably some delivery bloke on a break. But as she passed, the side door slid open with a metallic screech. A figure lunged out, swift and silent, like a predator who'd been waiting in the shadows. Before she could scream, a gloved hand clamped over her mouth, the chemical tang of chloroform soaking a rag pressed against her face. Her earbuds popped out, clattering to the ground. Panic exploded in her chest, heart hammering, legs kicking wildly. She clawed at the arm around her waist, nails digging into leather, but the man was built like a brick wall. "Easy now, love," he growled in a thick Manc accent, his breath hot against her ear. Another pair of hands grabbed her ankles from inside the van, yanking her off her feet. Emily thrashed, her backpack slipping away, phone tumbling into a puddle. The world blurred, rain on her cheeks mixing with tears, the alley spinning as they dragged her into the darkness of the van. The door slammed shut, plunging her into stifling black. She gasped, lungs burning from the fumes, vision tunneling. "What the fuck? Let me go!" she managed to choke out, but a boot pinned her down, and zip ties snapped around her wrists. There were 3 of them, maybe 4, she couldn't tell in the gloom. The van lurched forward, tires squealing as it peeled away from the curb. One laughed, a low, guttural sound that made her skin crawl. "Feisty one, innit? Boss like that." The driver, tall, hooded, with a tattoo snaking up his neck, glanced back in the rearview. "Shut her up, Gaz. We've got a schedule." Gaz, the one who'd grabbed her, leaned in close. His face was obscured by a balaclava, but his eyes gleamed with something feral. He ripped a strip of duct tape from a roll and slapped it over her mouth. Emily muffled a sob, tasting blood where she'd bitten her tongue. The van smelled of oil, sweat, and stale cigs. They were heading out of the city center. She could tell by the way the lights faded, the hum of traffic giving way to quieter roads. Her mind raced. Who were they? Random psychos. Some gang. She'd heard stories, girls vanishing after nights out, whispers in the student halls about predators lurking in the shadows of Canal Street or the Printworks. But this felt organized, deliberate. The way they'd waited, the van ready. Not opportunists, hunters. As the chloroform's grip tightened, pulling her under, Gaz's hand brushed her cheek, almost tender. "Sweet dreams, princess," he murmured. The last thing she felt was the van turning onto a motorway, the rain pattering on the roof like distant gunfire. Back in the alley, her backpack lay abandoned, content spilling, sketchbook, keys, a half-eaten Greg's pasty. Sarah would notice soon. Emily always texted. The police would come, statements taken under fluorescent lights. But for now, the city swallowed her whole, indifferent as ever. The gang, 4 mates from a run-down estate in Salford, bound by debts, boredom, and a twisted pact, drove on. Their leader, the one with the neck tattoo, smirked into the night. This was just the beginning. The warehouse awaited, a forgotten shell on the edge of the Irk Valley, where no one would hear the screams. The van's tires crunched over gravel, then silence. Emily came round slowly, head lolling against the metal floor, cheeks sticky with drool and duct tape residue. The engine had died, doors clanged open. Cold air rushed in, carrying the sour stink of the River Irk and wet brick. A boot nudged her ribs. "Up you get, princess." She was hauled out by the armpits, wrists still zip-tied, ankles now free. The warehouse loomed like a gutted cathedral, broken skylights, rusted gantries, puddles reflecting a single dangling bulb. Rain drummed on corrugated iron overhead. 4 men ringed her, balaclavas rolled up to their noses now that they were inside. She recognized the driver's tattoo, a bulldog with a noose. Local lads, then. Salford or Harperhay, judging by the accents. The leader, Bulldog, shoved her toward a metal chair bolted to the concrete. "Sit." Zip ties were snipped, replaced instantly with rope that bit into her skin. Gaz, the stocky one who'd chloroformed her, crouched to bind her ankles. His fingers lingered on her calf, tracing the damp denim. Emily jerked away. He laughed, breath reeking of cheap lager and menthols. "Name's Gaz. That's Rico driving, Mikey on lookout, and the big man's Carl." Bulldog, Carl, paced, phone to his ear. "Yeah, we've got her. Clean grab. Tell the others 20 minutes. He killed the call, pocketed the phone, and finally looked at Emily properly. Mid-30s, shaved head, scar splitting his left eyebrow. Eyes flat, like a shark's. Emily swallowed. Her throat tasted of chemicals and terror. "My flatmate knows I'm missing. Police'll be looking." Carl smiled without warmth. "Sarah with the blue streak in her hair? Already texted her from your phone, crashing at Jake's, battery dying." "She bought it." He held up her cracked iPhone, screen spider-webbed but working. "We're not amateurs, love." Mikey, wiry and twitchy, produced a battered Bluetooth speaker. Some drill track rattled out, bass vibrating in Emily's teeth. It masked the rain, masked everything. Gaz opened a cool bag, pulled out cans of Stella, tossed one to each mate. The hiss of ring pulls sounded obscenely casual. Emily's stomach lurched. She scanned the space, pallets stacked with shrink-wrapped boxes, stolen gear, probably. A mattress in the corner, stained and sagging. Chains dangling from a roof beam. Her breath hitched. Carl noticed. "Don't bother screaming. Nearest house is half a mile, and the river drowns everything else." He cracked his knuckles. "We're just the pickup crew. The party starts when the others arrive." Others. The word lodged like a splinter. Emily forced her voice steady. "How much?" "My dad's got savings." "Whatever you're being paid." Gaz barked a laugh. "Ain't about money tonight, princess. It's about settling scores." He swigged his beer, wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. "Your boyfriend Jake? The pretty DJ with the rooftop bar? He owes our mates 20 large. Coke tab. Interests due." Emily's mind reeled. Jake, her ex, technically. They'd split 3 weeks ago after she found messages on his phone. She hadn't spoken to him since. "I'm not with him anymore." "Doesn't matter," Carl said. "He ghosted the debt, so we ghost something of his. Eye for an eye." He stepped closer, crouched so their faces were level. "You're the message." Headlights swept through the broken windows. 2 more vehicles. Doors slammed. Footsteps. 4 new silhouettes filled the doorway, hoods up, carriers clinking with bottles. One carried a tripod phone mount. Another had a GoPro strapped to his chest. Gaz whooped. "Lads are here." Emily's pulse thundered in her ears. She tugged at the ropes until skin tore. The newcomers fanned out, younger than the pickup crew, early 20s, tracksuits, gold chains. One filmed on his phone, grinning. "Smile, babe. You're live on a private story." Carl raised a hand. The music cut. Silence pressed in, broken only by rain and Emily's ragged breathing. "Ground rules," Carl announced to the room. "No marks on the face. No blades. We're not animals." A ripple of laughter. And we rotate fair. 10 minutes each. Timer on my phone. Anyone goes over, they're out. We deliver her breathing. Emily tasted bile. She locked eyes with the youngest newcomer, barely 18, acne dotting his jaw. Something flickered there. Hesitation, maybe disgust. She seized it. You don't have to do this. You walk away now, no one knows. The boy glanced at Carl, then away. Gaz backhanded Emily across the cheek. Not hard enough to bruise, just a sting. Shut it. Carl set his phone timer. 10 o'clock. The screen glowed red. He nodded to Gaz. You grabbed her. First go. Gaz rolled his shoulders, cracked his neck. The others formed a loose semicircle, phones out, filming. Emily closed her eyes, bit down on a scream that would only feed them. The ropes creaked as Gaz stepped between her knees. Somewhere outside, a siren wailed, distant, heading elsewhere. Inside the warehouse, the timer began its merciless countdown. The bulb overhead flickered, throwing shadows that crawled across the concrete like living things. Gaz's belt buckle clinked open. Emily's world narrowed to the sound of his breathing, wet, eager, too close. She turned her face to the wall, tasting rust where the rope had scraped her lip. 10 minutes. She could survive 10 minutes. She had to. Gaz's hands were on her knees, forcing them apart. The chair groaned. Look at me, he hissed. She didn't. He pinched her chin, nails digging crescents into skin. I said look. Emily opened her eyes. Gaz's pupils were blown wide, reflecting the phone screens pointed at them. Someone whistled. Another voice, Rico, the driver, called, Timer's running, mate. Clock's ticking. Gaz fumbled with her jeans button. The denim was damp from the rain. It stuck. He swore, yanked harder. The zipper tore. Cold air hit her thighs. Emily's breath stuttered. She thought of her mum's kitchen in Stockport, the smell of shepherd's pie on Sundays, the way her dad still called her chicken even though she was 22. Ordinary things. Safe things. A sudden crash, metal on concrete. Everyone flinched. The warehouse door had swung inward on a gust. Rain sheeted across the threshold. Carl barked, Mikey, shut that. Mikey scrambled, boots splashing. In the scramble, Emily caught the eye of the acne-scarred lad again. He hadn't moved to film. His phone dangled at his side. Gaz's weight shifted. Emily twisted hard, bringing her knee up. It connected with his groin, not full force, but enough. He doubled with a strangled grunt. The circle of men roared, half laughter, half outrage. Carl stepped in, fist raised, then checked himself. No marks on the face, he muttered, echoing his own rule. Instead he grabbed Emily's hair, wrenching her head back. Do that again and we gag you with your own knickers. Clear. She nodded, tears burning. Gaz straightened, face purple. Fucking bitch. He backhanded her thigh, hard enough to bruise tomorrow. Then he was on her again, rougher, tearing fabric. The timer on Carl's phone beeped, 8:12 remaining. Emily's mind detached. She floated above the scene, watching a girl in a chair while animals pawed at her. She catalogued details the way her design lecturers taught. Composition, light, negative space. The stained mattress. The drip from a broken pipe. The way Gaz's left trainer had a hole at the toe. When he finished, he zipped up with shaking hands. Spit on the floor. Next. Rico took his place. Leaner. Quicker. He didn't speak, just unbuckled and got on with it. Emily stared at the ceiling, counting the cracks in the plaster. One looked like the Manchester Bee. She focused on that until Rico shuddered and stepped away. Timer. 4:55. The third man, she hadn't caught his name, hesitated. Carl nudged him. Move, lad. He was the one with the GoPro. The red light blinked on his chest like a malevolent eye. He kept muttering sorry under his breath, barely audible. Emily locked onto the word. Sorry. It meant something. It had to. He lasted less than 2 minutes. When he pulled away, he wouldn't meet her eyes. He fumbled the camera off and retreated to the shadows. Timer. 2:03. Carl killed the alarm. Break. Hydrate. Someone cracked fresh beers. Emily sagged against the ropes, thighs trembling, a sticky ache between them. Blood, hers or theirs, she couldn't tell, trickled warm down her ankle. Carl crouched again, offering a bottle of water to her lips. She turned away. He shrugged, drank it himself. "You're doing grand, love. Half the lads are done. Just the new batch now." The acne-scarred boy, she heard someone call him Kyle, hadn't moved forward. He stood by the pallets, knuckles white around his phone. Gaz noticed. "Oi, Kyle. Your turn, or you paying interest too?" Kyle's voice cracked. I didn't sign up for this bit." Carl's smile vanished. "You signed up the minute you climbed in the motor. Debt's collective, lad." He drew a flick knife, clicked it open. "Or I start carving repayment out of you instead." Kyle looked at Emily. Really looked. She saw the moment the math clicked behind his eyes. Walk away and become the next message. Stay and become the monster. He took one step forward, then another. His hands shook so badly he couldn't undo his belt. Emily found her voice, raw as sandpaper. "Kyle. Look at me." He did. "You're not them. Not yet." Carl's knife pressed under Kyle's chin, tilting it up. "Ignore her. Do it." Kyle's gaze flicked to the exit. 20 feet. Rain still lashing. Mikey blocked the door, but he was distracted, scrolling TikTok. Kyle's Adam's apple bobbed. The warehouse bulb popped, sparks, darkness, then the backup LED strips kicked in, bathing everything in sickly green. In the stutter of light, Kyle moved. Not toward Emily, toward the door. He shoulder-charged Mikey, who yelped and staggered. Kyle was through the gap before anyone processed it, boots pounding wet gravel outside. Carl roared. "Get the little cunt!" 2 men sprinted after him. Gunshots, 2 sharp cracks, echoed over the river. Emily flinched, ears ringing. A moment later, the pursuers dragged Kyle back by the hood. Blood streamed from his nose. One eye was already swelling shut. Carl pistol-whipped him across the temple. Kyle dropped like a sack. "Tie him with her," Carl spat. "He can watch the rest. Lesson for next time." They dumped Kyle at Emily's feet. He groaned, curling fetal. His blood pooled near her trainers. She whispered, "Thank you," so low only he could hear. He didn't respond, but his fingers twitched toward hers, just brushing, before the ropes tightened again. Carl reset the timer. 10 o'clock glowed anew. Right. Where were we? The LED strips buzzed like dying insects, turning every face the color of pond scum. Emily's legs had gone numb below the ropes. Only the throb between her thighs kept time with her pulse. Kyle lay half-conscious at her feet, blood crusting his top lip. The air stank of sweat, lager, and the copper tang of fear. Carl wiped the pistol on his jeans and addressed the room. "Kyle's out. That leaves 6 of you. 10 minutes each. No skipping." He glanced at Emily. "She's still with us, lads. Keep it civil." The next man, mid-20s, gold sovereign rings, breath like an ashtray, stepped up. He didn't bother with names. Just unbuckled, spat on his palm, and took his place. Emily fixed her gaze on a rusted bolt in the far wall. Counted the threads. 1, 2, 3. At 7 the man grunted and moved off. Timer. 7:41. Fifth in line was the one with the tripod. He set his phone to record vertically, propped it on a crate. "For the archive," he smirked. Emily closed her eyes. The flash went off anyway. When he finished, he reviewed the footage, nodding approval, then passed the phone to Carl like a relay baton. Timer. 5:12. A lull. Someone sparked a spliff. Sweet skunk curled under the iron roof. Gaz offered it to Emily. She turned her face. He shrugged, inhaled deep, blew smoke across her cheek. "Loosen up, princess. Night's young." The 6th man hesitated longest. Tall, gym-built, neck tattoo mirroring Carl's bulldog but with added tears. He stared at Emily like she was a maths problem he couldn't solve. Carl prodded him with the gun barrel. "Move, Dino. Debt don't pay itself." Dino's hands shook worse than Kyle's had. He muttered something that might have been sorry before starting. Halfway through, he faltered, pulled out, and vomited against the wall. Yellow bile spattered his trainers. Laughter erupted. Carl's voice cut through. Amateur hour. Clock's still running. Dino finished pale and sweating. Timer reset. Now only the newcomers remained, 2 of the 4 who'd arrived late. The first was stocky, buzz-cut, United shirt under his hoodie. He cracked his knuckles like he was about to start a fight, not rape. Emily's bladder spasmed. Warm urine trickled down her leg. No one noticed, or they pretended not to. United shirt lasted the full 10, eyes rolling back in ecstasy. When the alarm beeped, he high-fived Gaz like they'd scored in the 93rd minute. Emily tasted blood again. She'd bitten the inside of her cheek raw. Last man. The quiet one who'd carried the carrier bags. He set a supermarket bag on the floor, pulled out a bottle of own-brand vodka and a packet of baby wipes. Methodical. He unscrewed the cap, took a swig, offered it to Emily. She shook her head. He wiped his hands, then hers, absurdly gentle, before beginning. The wipes smelled of artificial lemon. Emily laughed once, a cracked, hysterical sound, at the domesticity of it. Timer, 3:28. Outside, the rain eased to a drizzle. Inside, the warehouse felt smaller, air thick enough to choke on. Carl checked his watch, then the door. Pickup's late, he muttered to Rico. Text the driver. Rico thumbed a message. 30 seconds later his phone buzzed back. He read it, frowned. Change of plan. Jake's surfaced. Wants to trade himself for the girl. Says he's got the cash. Carl's scar twitched. Bullshit. He's stalling. He turned to the room. We finish the rotation, then we move her. No loose ends. But the mood had shifted. Dino was still retching in the corner. Kyle groaned, trying to push up on one elbow. United shirt scrolled his phone, suddenly bored. The baby wipe man capped the vodka, eyes on the exit. Emily felt it too, a fracture in the pack. She cleared her throat. If Jake's coming with money, you don't need me anymore. Carl rounded on her. Shut it. No, she said, voice steadier than she felt. You said message. Message sent. 10 minutes each, you kept count. Let me go, take the cash, everyone wins. Gaz snorted. She's bargaining now. Cute. Carl considered. The pistol hung loose in his hand. Maybe. If the cash is real. He nodded to Mikey. Check the road. 2 minutes out, 2 minutes back. Mikey slipped outside. The door clanged shut. Silence stretched, broken only by Kyle's wet breathing and the drip-drip from the roof. Emily's mind raced. Jake didn't have 20 grand, he blew his DJ wages on gear and gram. This was a bluff, a desperate play. But it had bought minutes, maybe more. Mikey returned, soaked. White Golf, 2 up. Parked at the gate. Hazard lights. Carl's phone lit up, unknown number. He answered on speaker. Jake's voice, thin with panic. I've got the money. Let her walk to the gate. You count it, she's free. Carl looked at Emily, then the men. Greed flickered. Show me the bag first. A pause. Car door slammed outside. Footsteps. Jake appeared in the doorway, hood up, rucksack clutched to his chest. Rainwater streamed off him. His eyes found Emily, widened in horror at the chair, the ropes, the blood on Kyle's face. Carl raised the pistol. Bag on the floor. Step back. Jake obeyed. The rucksack thudded. Carl kicked it to Rico, who unzipped, bricks of cash, real enough to smell the ink. Rico whistled. 20 large, easy. Carl's smile returned. Looks like Christmas came early. He gestured to Gaz. Cut her loose. Ankles only. She walks. Gaz sawed the ropes at her feet. Circulation prickled back in hot needles. Emily tested her weight, legs held. Jake started forward. Carl's gun stopped him. Ah. She comes to you. Emily took one step, then another. The concrete was cold under bare soles. They'd taken her trainers somewhere between rounds. Kyle stirred, whispering her name. She paused, bent painfully, touched his shoulder. "It's okay," she lied. Carl barked. "Move." She shuffled past the semicircle of men. United Shirt filmed her stumbling exit. Baby Wipe Man looked away. At the threshold, Jake reached for her. 10 feet. 5. Emily's knees buckled. He lunged, caught her under the arms. She buried her face in his wet hoodie, inhaling detergent and terror. Behind them, Carl zipped the rucksack. Pleasure doing business. Jake half-carried her into the drizzle. The Golf's engine idled. He bundled her into the passenger seat, slammed the door. Through the windscreen she saw Carl raise a hand, mock salute, before the warehouse door rolled shut. The car lurched backward, gravel spitting. Emily clutched the seatbelt, shaking uncontrollably. Jake's knuckles were white on the wheel. "I'm sorry, Em. I'm so fucking sorry." She didn't answer. Just stared at the side mirror as the warehouse shrank, red taillights bleeding into the night. Neither noticed the tracker sewn into the rucksack's lining, blinking silently with every mile. #### Part 5. The Road and the Reckoning. The Golf's heater coughed out lukewarm air that smelled of damp dog and old chips. Emily sat sideways, knees drawn to her chest, wrists still bound in front of her. Jake kept glancing over, eyes flicking from the road to her torn jeans, the bruises blooming on her thighs like spilled ink. Neither spoke. Rain hissed against the windscreen, the wipers squeaked in protest. After 10 minutes Jake broke the silence. "Hospital. Then cop shop. I'll tell them everything." His voice cracked on the last word. Emily stared at the dashboard clock. 3:17. "They'll arrest you too. Debt, drugs, accessory." "I don't care." He swallowed. "You're safe. That's what matters." Safe. The word tasted like ash. She shifted, felt the sticky ache between her legs, the ghost of hands that weren't Jake's. "Pull over." He indicated, eased onto a lay-by off the A6010. The headlights carved tunnels through dripping hedgerows. Emily opened the door, retched onto the tarmac. Nothing came up but bile. Jake rubbed her back in useless circles. When the spasms passed, she wiped her mouth on her sleeve. "Give me your knife," she said. He hesitated, then fished a penknife from the glove box. She sawed the rope on her wrists until it frayed and snapped. Blood rushed back into her fingers like pins and needles on fire. She flexed them, then reached for the rucksack in the footwell. "What are you doing?" "Checking the money." She unzipped it. Bricks of 20s, rubber banded. But beneath the top layer, something hard. She dug deeper, pulled out a black plastic box the size of a matchbox, red LED pulsing. "Tracker." Jake's face drained. "They played me. Us." She hurled the tracker into the hedge. "Drive." He floored it. The Golf fishtailed, then gripped the wet road. Emily rolled the window down. Cold air slapped her awake. She catalogued exits, M60 Ring Road, then south toward the M56. Airport. Trains. Distance. She needed distance. Her phone was gone, but Jake sat in the cup holder. She thumbed it open, passcode still her birthday. A new message glowed, unknown number, sent 2 minutes ago. "Nice try. Clock's ticking. Bring the girl back or we visit Sarah next." Photo attached. ****. She tapped it. Sarah asleep on her sofa, blue streak in her hair, fairy lights behind her. Timestamp. 2:44. They'd been inside the flat. Emily's stomach lurched again. Turn round. What? No. They've got Sarah. We go back, we end this. She met his eyes. Your mess. We clean it together. Jake's knuckles whitened. They'll kill us both. Maybe. Or maybe we stop being prey. She grabbed the penknife, flipped it open. Drive to the warehouse. But not the front. He swallowed, nodded. U-turn. The Golf growled back toward the Irk Valley. They parked half a mile out, behind a shuttered petrol station. Emily pulled Jake's hoodie over her ruined clothes. It hung to her knees. They moved on foot, sticking to the riverbank where reeds muffled their steps. The warehouse squatted ahead, one security light buzzing. 2 new vehicles, a black Astra and a flatbed lorry. Voices drifted. Laughter. Bottles clinking. Emily crouched behind a stack of pallets. Plan. Jake scanned. Side doors padlocked but the chains loose. I saw it earlier. We get in quiet. Find Sarah. Get out. I've got bolt cutters in the boot. She raised an eyebrow. You just carry bolt cutters? DJ gear. Flight cases. He attempted a shrug. Long story. They retrieved the cutters. Emily's bare feet were numb on the gravel, but adrenaline kept her moving. Jake snipped the chain. Sharp clink swallowed by the river. They slipped inside. The warehouse felt different now. Emptier, echoey. The chair she'd been tied to lay on its side, ropes coiled like dead snakes. Mattress gone. Bloodstains darkened the concrete. Kyle's, maybe hers. A single bulb still swung. Voices from the far end, partitioned office, light spilling under the door. Emily crept closer, Jake behind her. Through the grimy window, Carl counting cash at a desk. Gaz cleaning a pistol. 2 others playing cards. No Sarah. Then a muffled thud from above. Mezzanine level. Old foreman's office. Emily pointed. Jake nodded. They climbed the metal stairs, each step a potential betrayal. The door at the top was ajar. Sarah sat zip-tied to a radiator, duct tape over her mouth, eyes wide. When she saw Emily she thrashed, chair scraping. Emily rushed forward, peeled the tape gently. Sure, it's me. Sarah's whisper was hoarse. They said you were dead. Not yet. Emily sawed her bindings while Jake kept lookout. How many downstairs? 5. Maybe 6. One's hurt bad, Kyle, I think. Footsteps on the stairs. Heavy, unhurried. Carl's voice floated up. Gaz, check the lovebirds. Make sure they're comfy. Emily's pulse spiked. Only one way down. She scanned the room. Dusty desks, a sash window overlooking the loading bay. 10-foot drop to the flatbed below, canvas tarpaulin soft enough. She yanked it open. Rain-fresh air rushed in. Jake hissed, "We can't leave, Kyle. We get Sarah out, then call the police from the car. Numbers game." She helped Sarah up. "You first." Sarah climbed onto the sill, hesitated. Emily gave her a push. She landed with a muffled thump on the canvas, rolled, vanished over the edge. One down. Jake went next, awkward, but he made it. Emily last. She was halfway out when the door behind her burst open. Gaz filled the frame, pistol raised. Going somewhere. Emily let go. She hit the tarpaulin hard, wind knocked out of her. Jake hauled her upright. They sprinted for the shadows as shouts erupted above. Gunshots, 2, 3, sparks off metal. The Gulf was where they'd left it. Jake floored it while Emily dialed 999 on his phone. Armed response, Irk Valley Industrial Estate, warehouse fire exit B. Multiple hostages, shots fired. She gave Sarah's name, her own, hung up before questions. Sirens already wailed in the distance, closer than expected. Blue lights strobed across the river. The cavalry, maybe, or Carl's mates. Either way, the net was closing. Jake took a corner too fast. The Gulf fishtailed. Headlights flared in the rear view. Black Astra, gaining. Gaz leaned out the passenger window, firing. The back windscreen spider-webbed. Emily grabbed the rucksack, yanked out a brick of cash, hurled it through the broken window. Notes exploded like confetti. The Astra swerved, driver distracted. Jake stamped the accelerator. They hit the main road doing 90. Police lights converged ahead, 3 patrol cars blocking the junction. Jake slammed the brakes. The Gulf slewed sideways, stopped inches from a riot shield. Officers swarmed, weapons drawn. Out of the vehicle! Hands where we can see them! Emily raised her blood-crusted wrists. Hostages! Warehouse, go now! An armed unit was already peeling off toward the estate, lights strobing red and blue into the night. Emily sagged against the car, rain washing dried tears from her cheeks. Sarah stumbled from the back seat, wrapped in a foil blanket. Jake stood silent as cuffs clicked on. Carl's voice crackled over a police radio somewhere. Suspect in custody, multiple firearms, one critical. Emily closed her eyes. The warehouse was surrounded. The night wasn't over, but the rotation had finally stopped. Word count: 750. The custody suite at Bootle Street smelled of bleach, sweat, and instant coffee. Emily sat on a plastic chair in a paper suit 2 sizes too big, foil blanket crinkling every time she breathed. A female PC had taken swabs, photographed bruises, bagged her ruined clothes. Evidence. The word felt clinical, too small for what it held. Across the corridor, Jake was being interviewed: drugs, debt, reckless endangerment. His solicitor, some weary duty brief, kept asking for breaks. Emily had refused a lawyer. She wanted it over. Sarah was in the room next door. Concussion check, statement. They'd let the friends see each other once, through a half-open door. Sarah's hug was fierce, wordless. They both cried, then stopped, embarrassed by the watching uniforms. At 9:14 the detective sergeant, DS Corps, sharp suit, softer eyes, slid a cup of tea across the table. "We've got 8 in cells. Carl Bulldog Moran, Gary, Gaz, Walsh, 5 others. Kyle's in the Royal, fractured skull, internal bleeding. He's talking what he can. Says you saved his life." Emily wrapped both hands round the cup. "He tried to stop it." Corps nodded. "We found the videos. Phones, cloud backups. Enough to bury them for decades." She paused. "You'll need to ID them in a lineup. Tomorrow, maybe the next day. When you're ready." Emily stared into the tea. "I'm ready now." The lineup was a gray corridor behind one-way glass. 8 men, numbered placards. She walked the line slowly. Carl first, scar still livid, smirk gone. Gaz beside him, eyes down. Dino vomited into a bucket someone had thoughtfully provided. The baby wipe man stared straight ahead, jaw clenched. Kyle wasn't there. Hospital. She pointed, voice steady. "All of them. Every one." Back in the interview room, Corps laid out the charges: kidnapping, rape, GBH, firearms, conspiracy. Life sentences floated in the air like smoke. Emily asked the question that had gnawed since the warehouse. "Why me?" Corps slid a printout across. Bank transfers, encrypted chat logs. Jake's debt was real, 22 grand. But Carl had a side hustle: dark web auctions. Exclusive content. You were meant to be the season finale. Jake's panic text derailed it. He really did try to buy you out. Emily closed her eyes. The money in the rucksack, real mostly, had been Carl's float for the next girl. Evening came. They released her on police bail, standard for victims giving evidence. Sarah's mum picked them up in a battered Corsa. The drive to Stockport was quiet, radio off, windows fogged. Emily's parents waited on the driveway, faces collapsing when they saw her. Her dad's hug smelled of the same aftershave he'd worn since she was 10. The house hadn't changed. Same magnolia walls, same kettle whistle. Her mum ran a bath, added too much Radox. Emily sat in the steam until her fingers pruned, watching bruises turn yellow-green. She didn't cry. Not yet. Weeks blurred. Statements, therapy, press blackout. The trial date was set for spring. Kyle survived, testified from a wheelchair. Dino flipped first, plea deal, 15 years. The others fought, lost. Life, minimum 25. Emily went back to uni in January, part-time. She switched courses. Criminology. The sketchbook stayed closed. She started running at dawn, along the Mersey, breath fogging in the cold. Some mornings she passed the northern quarter, glanced at the alley, kept moving. Jake got 4 years, possession with intent, perverting justice. She visited once. He looked smaller in the prison greens. "I'm clean now," he said through the glass. She nodded, left early. Sarah moved to Brighton. They texted daily, voice noted on anniversaries. The first rape crisis session, the first nightmare-free week. One night in March, Emily stood on the garden patio, city lights flickering beyond the estate. Her dad brought 2 mugs of cocoa. They drank in silence. "You all right, chicken?" he asked. She considered. The ache was still there, dull, familiar. but it no longer owned the room. "I'm still here," she said. He squeezed her shoulder. Inside, her phone buzzed, a message from Kyle, out on license. "Coffee tomorrow. My treat. I owe you a lifetime of lattes. ***. She smiled, small, real, and typed back.